How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Jose, TheNYCGeek, aka your Elden Lord, aka the one sit the throne today, aka your tribal chief, aka the guy who just finished watching the Deadpool and Wolverine film. I got my popcorn bucket here. I was happy to actually score one of them. And let me get this out of the way. This is going to be a completely spoiler-free review of Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't want to touch on anything that happens in that movie, so you don't have to worry about it, because I want you to go see this movie. I want to get this out of the way. This film is awesome. It was fantastic. I can't stress that enough. Thank God, because it's so good to finally see something fun, right? But it was not perfect. It had some hiccups here, especially in a couple plot holes, but that's fine because it is easily lifted up by so many other things in this movie, so many other things that have helped elevate this film to where I loved it. I'm going to go watch it again this weekend. It's also going to have the side effect where it's going to shine a light on how terrible the MCU has been as of late, and unfortunately will continue to be, because Captain America New World looks awful. But, you know, despite the deserved success that this movie's going to garner, because I'd bet my house that this movie's going to be a roaring success. It only has a $100 million budget with maybe half that in marketing, so it only needs to break $600 million to break even. And I'd wager that this movie is going to be at least $1 billion. This film has exactly what has been missing from superhero films as of late, not just Marvel ones, but DC ones as well. It is full of laughs from jokes that actually land, kick-ass action, which is only made all the better by the fact that it's an R-rated movie. And more importantly, I cannot stress, this is the biggest part of this movie that sold it for me. This movie has heart, okay? And I know when it comes to Captain Planet and the Planeteers, that heart is the lamest of the 5 damn powers. But when it comes to the superhero movie, it is crucial. It is something that Marvel has gotten, okay? It's one of the reasons why Infinity War hit so hard, right? Because you're seeing these characters that people have grown to love get dusted, and there was weight to it. We've been given time, been given reason to care about those characters. And that is especially true in Deadpool and Wolverine. There are some genuinely touching scenes, okay? I shit you not, that will actually pull at your heart. One for me, again, it's not going to mention any spoilers, but one for me involving Wolverine talking about a character. That's all I'll say. And that was heartrending. And some people that the previous 2 Deadpool movies, some people forget the previous 2 Deadpool movies, they were funny as hell. They had action, but there is heart there, particularly in the relationship between Wade and Vanessa. You want to cheer him on. That's something that Marvel has forgotten, and that's how to make likable characters. They've forgotten that. Speaking of those characters, I have to start with the incredible performances from Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, as well as other people in the film. But those 2 actors have a chemistry between them, not only in their abilities to bring forth Deadpool and Wolverine, like they, especially in this movie, this is the best Wolverine we've seen, okay? But every interaction between them, whether it's them having a heart-to-heart or a joke or battle, everything is gold. It's all gold. It's so good. And I actually looked up this actress's name because I'm terrible with actor names. I really am. And directors and all that. I'm the worst. But I looked up her name because I was a huge fan of Emma Corrin. I hope I pronounced her last name right, who plays Cassandra Nova in the movie we've seen in the trailers. She is cool, man. She hits that role. Woo! I like that a lot. Her powers are cool as hell. They are very disturbing. There are some legit body horror moments, like moments where you're like, oh, and I heard people in the audience be like, oh, like, groaning, like being like, like squeamish from it. It was great. He did a really good job, really, really good job. I talked about heart because that's so vital, but the comedy is there, okay? There's from the one-liners, so obviously Deadpool breaking the 4th wall and making some legit digs at Marvel, some really on-point digs at Marvel where you're like, oh shit. to the straight man and funny guy comedy duo that Wolverine and Deadpool have going through this whole film. One of my favorite films of all time is Rush Hour. I love Rush Hour. The chemistry that Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan had, I haven't seen in a while, and I feel like it was right here. We were seeing it on screen. I laughed a lot, which, you know, I'm sure it's contrary to popular belief. I actually have a good time. I actually enjoy when I have a good time watching things. I don't want to watch things and be miserable. And thankfully I wasn't during the movie. I didn't at all feel its running time. I don't know off the top of my head. I could look it up, but I didn't feel at all like this movie was too long or too short. It was just right. It was perfect. The action was some of the best I've seen in the MCU. Hands down. Hands down. And yes, it is helped by the fact that it is an R-rated movie. The brutality of Wolverine. Woo! The Logan film gave us a taste, but this is a Wolverine who is still at his peak, and it's just holy shit, right? It's exactly what you would expect from a berserker with claws on his hands, tearing through people, and there's action galore from, you know, big battles with lots of combatants to much more intimate one-on-one battles, one of which was my favorite fight in the entire movie, one of the one-on-one battles. Again, maybe next week I'll talk a little bit more. We'll do a big spoiler breakdown of it, but one of those was my favorite fights in the movie. Now, like I said, there were some minor hiccups here and there with the movie. Some things that didn't really make sense. Again, we're not going to go into that. You've seen in the trailers, though, that the TVA from Loki is involved, the Time Variance Authority, and the confusion from the plot holes is kind of stemming from that. So this whole multiversal crap that the MCU has tied itself up with. Also, if you haven't watched the Loki shows, there's going to be some things you're going to be confused about. You are going to be like, what the hell is going on? So if you're like just a big Fox guy and you watch like the X-Men movies and the Deadpool movies, I would suggest watching Loki 1 and Loki 2. So you're a little bit more happening. But there's a lot of reasons this movie's going to slap. It has so much going for it. Unfortunately, it's bittersweet, right? That in itself is going to be the problem, is that it has so much going for it because this movie felt like the last real, genuine superhero movie that we're going to get a long time. That we're going to get in a long time. Like, it felt like the last real, genuine superhero movie. And, you know, we had Spider-Man No Way Home, which came out, that was a perfect storm. That came out in 2021. And I remember, you know, this is still the peak of COVID. And yet that movie made $1 billion+ because it just goes to show when you make a good movie, people are going to go. Okay. COVID was a joke of an excuse. So was the weather that they tried to use with Beetle. But Spider-Man No Way Home was a perfect storm, a combination of multiple factors that made it the last damn awesome thing involving Marvel. And it wasn't even an MCU movie. Okay. Remember, that was a Sony movie, but that was in 2021. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was good, but it was ultimately forgettable, and it was nowhere near the level of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or 1. Okay, so for me, the last real Marvel film that was amazing, that was a Marvel film, was another one of those perfect storms, Avengers Infinity War. And that's, again, we have been waiting 15 or however many years, 15 years, 30-something movies, or however much to build all those characters being on screen at the same time together. Like, that was one of those perfect storm movies. So I don't know if we're gonna get something like that anytime. I don't know. I really don't. And no matter how well this movie is gonna do, you're gonna come out of Deadpool and Wolverine feeling that bittersweet that I just said. No matter how well it does, you're just gonna be like, damn, man, I don't know if we're going to get something like this again. And you're definitely going to look back at stuff like the Eternals and be like, man, this shit is garbage. Or the Marvels, you're going to really be like, this is super garbage. So, you know, it reminded me, I felt like I was seeing the peak of what a superhero film would have been, and a callback to those earlier movies in the early 2000s. And probably realizing, like I said, that we're not going to see this kind of film again, at least not for a long time. It's like a unicorn in an ocean of trash that is the current state of the MCU. And I'm worried that whatever profits this movie makes, they'll already burn with Captain America New World, because that movie's going to bomb. That movie has a break point of over $1 billion because of the multiple reshoots they've had to do. That film's budget has ballooned to $400 million, and that's before taking into account marketing. So it had to make around it had to make $900 to $1 billion just to break even. So it's a shame. It's a shame because, again, this is not a fault of the movie, but I feel like you're gonna leave with that bitter, at least if you're not a Marvel consumer. So my final thoughts on this movie are, again, it's amazing. It's top notch. I cannot recommend this enough. If there is no other Deadpool Wolverine, if this is it, if this is the end of that franchise, they ended it perfectly. What a fantastic film. I can't recommend it enough. I actually asked the strangers who were next to me, who were sitting next to me, I asked them, what their thoughts were. They were parents with their kids. I just was like, hey, what did you think? And they were like, oh, I loved it. I found some kids were like, they found it funny. Kids were here. This movie's R-rated as shit, but hey, what are you gonna do? I was a young kid and I was watching RoboCop in the movie theaters, so I get it. So it's R-rated, whatever. But it's not like there's anything inappropriate in terms of thankfully. But yeah, there was even a woman who was cosplaying Wolverine, and her husband, they loved it. He loved it. And the husband actually said how I caught them in the parking lot. He said it reminded him of how much he loved Marvel before Endgame. Like that was his exact words. And I was like, damn, man, I wish I'd gotten you on video or something saying that. But, remember, awesome as this movie is, it's just going to further highlight how far the MCU has fallen, how unlikely it is they will ever reach these heights again, unless they scrap it all and start anew. Hey, who knows? But before they do that, they probably got to get through Fantastic Four. They're rechanging now Phase 5 into something, Phase 6 into the Mutant Saga. I don't know. But those are other things aside. Focusing solely on this film, I cannot recommend it enough. If you are a fan of comic book, if you're a fan of superheroes, go watch this movie. If you're a fan of the X-Men, you definitely should watch this movie. If you're a fan of the previous films, definitely watch this movie. If you just want to have if you don't have any investment in superhero stuff and you just want to have a damn good time, you want to laugh, you want to see some good action, you want to get some tear-jerking moments, go watch this movie. This is a great film. I will be seeing it again in the movie theaters this weekend with my wife, and maybe even again next weekend. And this is one of those that as soon as it comes out, I'm buying it. So thank you so much for checking out the video. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I wanted to keep it short and give you guys my thoughts. If you enjoyed it, please hit all the buttons. If you liked it, if you hated it, hit the dislike button. That's what it's there for, man. Leave me a comment. If you have watched the movie, tell me what you thought. Put like a thing, spoilers, and for anybody who, obviously, careful if you're watching if you're watching people's videos and you see, don't go through the comment section because there's going to be people who ruin it. But I invite those who have watched it to talk about it because I love to hear what you guys thought. Tell me if you felt the same way. If you haven't seen the movie, are you excited to see the movie? What do you think? And for the people who've watched it, here's a question that I want to ask you. Did you come out the same way that I did? Like I said, came out being like, damn, this movie was good, but with that kind of bittersweet feeling of shit, man, this is the last good movie we're going to get in a long damn time. So let me know if you got that. Anyway, guys, please, as always, your time is precious. I always thank you for spending it here, watching every minute of my foolishness. Truly do appreciate it. Please, 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 take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. You guys.